fair to call it our affordable housing curse. Because anytime we've tried to invest in affordable housing, it's always been beset with challenges. Either the project itself delays, we overshoot our budget, or we abandon it, and another government have to struggle to complete. We have a situation on our hands where I guess the biggest investment yet in an attempt to fix a major problem, which is the housing deficit, is now lying waste. The Saglemi albatross. It's right to call it an albatross because it's been on the neck of this MPP government for 6 years. And they haven't found a way to fix it. Now, the proposal is to get a private investor in to buy it, finish it, and then sell it off. But will that then make it affordable? That's a big question. But let's open it up because it raises more fundamental questions that we want to explore. But let's get to some hard facts as we begin to appreciate this big question. Because what really is affordable? If you go to the United Nations, they have a definition of what is affordable. If you're spending anything above 30% of your monthly salary, then whatever you're spending that on, if it is housing, that housing property cannot be affordable. For it to be affordable, you have to be spending less than 30% of your salary on it, right? So you begin to appreciate what we are talking about when affordable housing is talked of. So in a country where people earn as low as 1,000 cedis, let's say we learned on the show when the labor unions joined us, that there are people in the public service who earn as low as 600 cedis. I mean, so they're completely priced out of the property ladder when it comes to housing. Even if you go to those who earn 1,000, again, priced out. So if you're talking about less than 30%, a lot of people are priced out already. So achieving affordable housing alone is a challenge. And then you throw in all the complications that come with simply a simple case of mismanagement on the part of sometimes the officials in charge of seeing the project through. Then it becomes even more complicated. And this Saglemi housing project, we'll come to that. Remember what I just said, about 30% of your salary. That's how we are measuring what is affordable and what is not. But if you open up the whole conversation about affordable housing, let's go back to affordable houses in Asokore Bampon. This is 2006 that the former President Kufuor started. It's now been completed and handed over to SNIT in 2015. The NDC administration says, well, President Kufuor started it, didn't finish, we found money, we finished it, and people are living in now, right? So that's one. Again, so that faced challenges. When former President Kufuor started, he didn't finish it. And then he went on and also did the BONE, Affordable Housing Project, in 2011. It's when, of course, you saw the NDC administration also coming in. And like my question, I don't know what has happened to what the state of that is. We'll get some clarity because I have people who know that. And then, of course, the big Saglemi Affordable Housing Project is the one that is in question currently. We don't know the status of that. The status of that currently is that it's abandoned. Government has resolved that a private sector player will now oversee completion and then sale. There is a huge protest from the minority side about this. Now, let's track the Saglemi project, if you may. Parliamentary approval in October 2012, and then a loan agreement was reached. Government, and the Credit Suisse International, we wanted 200 million. We got 200 million to finish 5,000 housing units. And it was going to be constructed by OAS Limited. So 5,000 would have done just a drop in the mighty ocean when it comes to our housing deficit, but it is a small step towards fixing the problem. So those are the facts about the project. Now, the loan agreement period, and this is the part for me that is alarming. We haven't even spoken about it. The houses, as far as the Saglemi is concerned, we took a loan for 200 million. We should be servicing that loan by now. We haven't sold the unit. It's not finished. So you can imagine the waste involved here. You've taken a loan, which you had the grace period of 2 years. So the Saglemi was supposed to have been completed maximum 2016. It hasn't been completed, right? The loan, as I said, was the construction, I understand, started in 2013. So 2 years 2016 maximum, done, handover, people buy, and then you begin to service the loan. At least government, of course, will have to chip in. But it hasn't happened. But we are servicing the loan because the loan repayment period is 5 years. We've probably been finished paying the loan by now. And yet, the project is not done. It's sitting there, wasting away. Maturity was 7 years. Interest rate was supposed to be 12.5%. If you look at the projected debt service, we're talking about 249.6 million. This is all according to the Parliament's own Hansard, if you read the document. And then you look at the investment. If they were going to sell it, they're going to sell it according to the parliamentary documents that we used to do this when it came before the House. So a unit was supposed to be sold for $50,200. Now let's go back to 2016 or 2015 thereabout. That was late 2015, let's say early 2016. This should have been done. At that time, $1 to a cedi was 1:4. So $50,200 was just over 200,000 cedis. If we had kept to plan and finished it when we were supposed to, latest by 2016, those buying it, because it was priced in dollars, were going to pay 200,000 cedis for it, a unit. Now, assuming, and of course that can never be the case, but assuming that even if it's finished now, you're selling it off today, you want to still sell it at 50,000, which of course is not going to happen because of everything that's happened, inflation and all that, depreciation of the cedi. $50,200 now, did a calculation, you are in excess of 700,000 cedis. From 200,000 in 2016, if we were buying it then, if it were complete according to schedule, to 700,000+ cedis. Just imagine how many workers can afford that today. It's completely not affordable anymore. Not affordable anymore, and it's not going to be 50,000 anyway now, because whoever is going to buy is a private investor. He's going to put his own profit on top of it. Cost of finishing the project is going to be far higher now than it was in 2016, 2015, because of depreciation, inflation, all manner of things. So you can begin to imagine we're approaching 100,000 possibly for a unit. It is just one of those stories. Almost 2 million cedis per unit. That is rich man's language. It's more affordable. But then the question becomes, how many people who can really afford, when it's done, will pay almost 2 million cedis to go and live in Saglemi? Right? It's another question we need to ask. So everywhere you look, this is a major disaster that has happened on us, and at a huge cost to the taxpayer, because remember the loan we are servicing or possibly finished already. Now, so the government said somebody had caused financial loss to the state. So they are prosecuting people, accuse them of intentionally misapplying the 200 million because the house is incomplete, and yet we've paid people for it. So the former minister, Collins Dowda, and others are in court now being prosecuted by this government. A reason why the project has stalled for so long, because the government thought they needed to do something about what they believe to be corruption. The project payments have been made to the contractors when the project had not been delivered, right? Monies, accounting became an issue. 179 million had been paid when already government had alleged that, an estimated 196 million had to be spent on Saglemi affordable housing project. The contractor had already been paid so much, almost all of the 200 million, and here we are. The thing is still not complete, and so they are prosecuting people for it, right? So we'll talk about this, and it's such an important matter to examine when you begin to look at what it means for the people who live there, the people who are desperate to get affordable housing. And this, by the way, is a Google image of where we are talking about in Saglemi, right? It is one of those areas that when you drive along the road, you see very beautiful stuff. This Google image gives you a sense of this. Okay, I just want to expand it. Gives you a sense of very beautiful. And even here, you see these round circles of buildings. These are all buildings with roads done, access routes already done. It was nearly complete. So what happened? Let's get to the heart of the minority says, no way. You're not entertaining the privatization. See the video there of it. This on your screen will be the video of what we saw today when our colleagues went there. This is what has happened. Look at the doors. The doors, the fittings have already been done. Just look at that. This looks like a sink that had been installed. Thieves have gone in there and done their own thing. Just look at the pictures. So this was almost done. Doors been fixed. Fittings, the kitchen. This is a kitchen. We are seeing there the sink had been fitted. So this is something that was nearly complete, because if you have a kitchen already fitted, people should have been living in it by now. Look at the doorways, completely left. Doors have been fixed, as you saw there. And this was beautiful for homes, turning these into a home for people to live in. A massive investment. Just look at how the places are grown with weeds and rodents. The fittings have all gone. The streets were done. The streets were done, paved. They had done landscaping. The landscaping, of course, have been left. And because of that, it's been turned into it's a ghost town now. It's a pretty damning verdict on us when it comes to what we do with taxpayers' funds. This is all there for you to watch. We're going to talk about this. So this is what we have. So what's the solution? Government says privatize. Minority says do not. Something has to give. What must give? After the break. My guest in the studio is Vincent Opona-Samoa. He's a ranking member on the Works and Housing Committee of Parliament. Joining us on Zoom is Patrick Ebo Banfo. He's the president of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, GREDA. Franklin Kujo is a founding president and CEO, Imani Center for Policy and Education. He will join us pretty shortly. Mr. Samoa, so what really inspired this visit to Saglemi? Because the problem of Saglemi is very well known.
Yeah, we waited for a while. We should have been there about a year when we took office 2 years ago. As a committee, we were looking for the opportunity to get there. And when the minister announced that finally he's gotten a go-ahead from the presidency, that he could go ahead to look for a private investor to invest in the project, we said, okay, this is not a bad news. After all, they are coming out with solution to this problem. So what we did was that we invited the minister as a committee, at least for him to give us further brief on the entire exercise. The minority, we were not satisfied.
Okay, so this is after the announcement of the private? After he announced that he got a private? Okay, so you met him?
We met him.
Okay, so what details did he give you about this private arrangement?
The whole thing is that you wanted to just run down the project, that this is a failed project, and we think we need to get private investors to do it.
So government has written the project off?
It's a failed project.
Okay.
That is description that the minister gave to this project, a failed project.
So this private person, is he going to buy it, or government is simply just giving it to the private person as a gift, and the private person will invest to finish and sell?
According, they were going to have a technical committee that will come out with the modalities, whether to sell it or as they come in as they will provide the funding, and at the end of it, after completion, they will sell, they will recoup the investment and try to reinvest, just like the initial project sought to do.
Okay.
But the difficulty we had with this project was that, in fact, I knew even the last time that we went there, that was in 2017, 2018, the situation at the moment may have changed. So we sought to go there. But the majority side were not in favor of our moving to that place. So the minority decided that we will go there. We want the media to see the current situation. Because I know that there are some guys before the calls now. That is not what I'm coming to talk about. We are interested in the current state of the project over there, so that if we can get independent-minded people if the, let's assess the current situation, because you know building material, the price of building materials has gone up. So whatever be the case, if you want to value the structure now, the value should be up. But because of neglect and some of the things that the pictures showed, definitely that is also going to affect the value of the project if it is assessed now because of the neglect. Someone somewhere will have to also pay a price for the neglect. You see? So we sought to go to the site with the media. At least the pictures speak for itself.
We saw the pictures, and please show the pictures again. The pictures that we saw of the rooms, it was supposed to be 5,000 unit estate.
Yeah.
1,500 of them were supposed to have been completed.
Yes.
So these pictures we're seeing right now, the doors that have been fixed, these are pictures of the 1,500.
You are even fortunate. This, you know that door over there, they removed it, but they couldn't take it away. Okay. But the rest of the rooms, all those doors are gone. Over 1,500 doors, everything is gone. And all the electrical appliances, everything electrical, they've stolen everything, including even, I don't know, what the technical name, is it the louvers or the glazers?
Yes.
Everything is gone. I don't know how they were able to remove it. So my brother, if you
can
go
see
there,
that from this angle.
you will weep.
This was supposed to be.
Yes.
So they removed it from the wall.
They remove it from the wall. And it's not like they did it and left something.
So the window glazings have all been removed.
Everything is
because so this is the electrical cables.
Electrical cables.
You also found evidence that the electrical cables had all been removed.
Everything. I think they removed this and pulled all the cables from the wall.
And that is a lot of money, because if you build before, you understand the most expensive part of the building, possibly electrical wiring.
Appliance. So we are asking that before even they take a decision on that, there should be independent probe into this to find out why these things happen. Because after I encountered some of the ministers, one of the deputies, so the place, we handed the place to the police to handle. So if police, we have the police taking care of the place, and all these things are gone. So Evans, do we have to leave it like that?
In the shots that we saw, I also saw stuff that looked like some building materials that had been covered. What are those?
Just before you even enter the main premises, just at the gates, we have PVC pipes, we have tiles, lot of materials left, and the place is so weedy. Okay. Everything has been left.
So you mean
there,
tiles?
Unattended tiles,
have already been purchased that have not been installed yet.
But they've not completed with the project. It's ongoing.
So those are
yes,
the ones I'm talking about.
You can see
the ones covered in blue.
But these are cables.
Yes, we just saw a shot. So those covered in blue, they are the tiles.
The tiles.
Okay.
And the PVC pipes, in the shots were not taken, the large quantities, and even buses, everything left the message.
Let me bring in Patrick Ibobamfo, the president of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. Patrick, you are in the business of building. You're looking at these pictures. And I wonder, from your expert eye as somebody involved in building and construction, what is your reaction to the pictures you see? How do you react to them?
Good evening to you, and good evening to your viewers. It's very disappointing to see these pictures. Seeing that in this industry, some of the most expensive part of your project is the finishing. And so once people steal the wiring, the glazing, and all those finishing installations, your project is doomed. So it's very sad that we're seeing these pictures today. And nobody, I don't think we wish it on anybody. It's unfortunate.
From what you're seeing, is this something that can be salvaged?
Sure, it can be salvaged. Luckily, the physical structures, as we see from these pictures, are still solid, and so it can be salvaged. The only thing is that it means a cost revision. it means that the projected cost will have to increase significantly because of these, tests and so on and so forth. So it can be solved. It can be done. Yeah, but at a greater cost.
Okay. So the government says the way to salvage it is to write it off. You just had the ranking on the Housing Committee in Parliament tell us that when they met the minister said this is a failed project and so hand it over to a private sector developer to finish and sell it off. What do you make of that approach?
Well, I don't think it's a write-off in the sense of write-off. Otherwise, if it's a write-off, I think no private sector person would be interested to buy it. So it's not a total write-off. Things have been left to get this time because of everything that we all know concerning the project. So it's not a total write-off. Let me put it that way. And this is how I understand it. The way he put it, it's not a total write-off, but at this stage, it's problematic, seriously problematic.
Is the private sector buyer or a private sector player taking this over an approach that will work?
It depends on the numbers. Remember, as a private investor, you're looking at how you're going to be able to sell these properties. And you have to compare it with the market and see the prices on the market, what is selling elsewhere. And in housing, location matches your price. Unless you have something extraordinary to convince people that they can pay very high prices for houses located that far out of town. You will have a big job on your hands if you as a private investor, if you get into the, you should have your marketing strategy apt. You should be apt with your marketing strategy. Otherwise, it's a no-go area.
If you look at the numbers, as of 2013, when they started construction, it was supposed to have been done and completed in 2 years. The pricing there was a unit was supposed to have been sold for $50,200. That was then. So 2015, 2016, if they had finished then. Looking at the housing market right now, the location of it, there's obviously definitely, if a private sector comes in, there's no way it's going to sell it at that price anymore. Is it economically viable then for somebody to come in now and sell it? Is that property now, the way it sits there now, even if you invest in it, is it commercially viable?
To make it commercially viable, you would need to turn it into something more attractive. Okay, at this point, it is no longer an affordable housing project. So the fact is, it's no longer affordable housing. And so any private investor will be looking beyond affordable housing and will be looking at the high market. And for you to attract buyers of that level, you will need to add a lot of things to the project. You need to introduce, some schematic plans and ideas and things that can attract people to come and buy properties at those prices in such a faraway place. And so the private investor has his or her work well cut out. You have to do something extraordinary to be able to sell yourself.
I mean, you've said earlier that it's not a write-off, so I'll come back and ask, so what could be the best solution out of this, and can greater help? I'll come to that shortly. But Mr. Samoa, so you believe that a private investor approach isn't the right approach?
At all.
So what is the right approach?
Our suggestion is that we've done it before. If you remember President Kufuor's affordable housing.
This is the one that you gave to Senate.
But Chairman, Senate completed it and gave it to the security agencies. this is government's money that we have invested. All that we are expecting is that government should look for money, complete it. We'll still have even housing deficit for the security agencies, government workers. We can still manage the situation and give it to security agencies. That place can even be a very nice place for a military barracks. A very nice place. And I tell you, even members of parliament would like to live there. The environment, wonderful. So I wonder why they just want to reduce the value so that at the end of it, they give it to a private investor. At the end of it, they just want to appropriate it to themselves. That's it.
So your approach, your solution is government should find money. And of course, this then will mean another loan.
500 million euros is on our table down in Parliament.
Yeah, but that for telecommunications investments, etc.
And then roads, if there's no road, telecommunication is one, hospitals.
Yes.
Is two. You put everything together, so $500 million. So we think Saglemi doesn't deserve.
After wasting 200 million, we should go for more money.
They have wasted 200 million. But let's salvage what is there. And to salvage it, we need to put in more investment. At least, if there have been any waste, those that cause it, they need to pay the price. But all that we believe in is that the initial assumption that we had, we needed to provide for workers, mortgage, housing. We can spread the cost for over some years so that people can at least buy. When we put out the figures over the UN figure, at least how many people, 30% of your salary, how can you invest 30% of your salary and then to pay the price of, unless you spread the cost for about 30 years. And I think a lot more workers will be able to. Affordability doesn't mean that at least every month you should be, but if it is spread, you have longer years to pay, it becomes affordable. So we need to just look for money, complete it. At least if people are culpable, those people should be fished out, and whatever we are supposed to do, we do. And if we are supposed to retrieve something, we'll retrieve. For now, what I believe in is that engaging private sector is a no-go area. It will price a lot of people out. They can't even buy it. And I don't even know, at the end of it.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, now I think government is conceding that this can no longer be described as an affordable housing project. So if you take that off the table, then the private sector guy will come in and make it commercial.
Just like
as the greater president says.
No private sector operative would like to go into mortgaging, looking at how the market is.
Yes.
But government is our money, the 200 million and no.
So you still want to maintain as an affordable housing scheme?
Affordable housing scheme, at least we have already paid the money already. It's our own money. Government should look for money to complete it and give it to our private citizens. We are paid for it through our taxes. We don't always have to be thinking about commercial. At the end of it, a lot of people will price out.
But the advantage of a private guy will also be that government will not have to contribute anything to it. I mean, what we've done already is enough. The private guy will take the rest of the burden and the rest of the risk.
That notwithstanding, it will price a lot of people out of it. A lot of people cannot even benefit from it. And let me tell you, the security agencies are looking for a place. Go and see the police, where some of them are living. And I don't think that site is far from Accra. Once they have their vehicles, they can come for operation. Barracks are not supposed to be sited in the middle of cities. They can go outskirts. So there are other alternatives. Government should think outside the box. We did it. So why can't they do it? When President Kufuor left it with Asokoro Mampong, we did not contract it alone. President Kufuor built those structures out of government of Ghana, GOG. But we needed to think through to get funding to complete those projects. This one was a loan that was contracted. We are paid for that loan. Government will have to source for money to complete it so that the intended purpose, it can still serve the intended purpose.
Let me bring in Franklin Kujo, the founding president of Imani Center for Policy and Education. Franklin, so the minority's position is go find the money, and this invariably will mean taking more loan to finish it and keep it as an affordable housing scheme. Government already has gone a different way, which is find a private investor to invest. Where do you stand on this?
You know, I keep saying that the governments really do not have business in getting into this so-called schemes called affordable housing schemes. Because if you look at the trajectory of government's involvement in these kinds of schemes, they've either not been successful, or I mean, partially successful, or wholly not successful. So the question you've asked me is quite a difficult one to answer, because clearly we've spent so much money into getting ourselves into something we call an albatross right now, and it's quite difficult to describe it as an affordable housing scheme. It's not. I am tempted to lean towards the hesitantly, by the way, lean towards the notion that we should sell it to a private sector person, because at least the private sector person might decide to add other amenities and probably raise the value. And even though the units were initially costed to be affordable, 50,000, he can raise the value to about 70,000 with additional amenities, maybe amusement parks and other additions. He may be able to make a killing out of it. Otherwise, if we make a mistake of allowing the government to continue investing more money into this project, trust me, I'm not sure we'll end this project in a record time soon. I'm not too sure about that.
So, in other words, your suggestion then will mean that it ceases to be an affordable housing scheme.
Well, it wasn't affordable to start off with in the first place, really. And so, yes, it must cease. It ceases to be. And I think we should take that decision simply because we need to recoup our money, really. It must be done it must be done transparently as well. Because other times we hear that uh, projects have been sold to private sector persons, only for you to learn that it was done under very spurious, very hazy conditions. And I think we need to be clear as to how this will be disposed of.
I mean, Patrick, you tell me, what do you think from Grader's point of view, knowing what you know now, the pictures you've seen, what would be the best approach to getting Saglemi back up as, a property and an estate that can still, give us some value? How do you make it work?
Well, to add to what Franklin was saying, see, at the moment, the government has spent about $196 million
Yes.
on this project. If you now divide that by 1,500 housing units or so, cost per unit is sitting around 130,000 US dollars at this level. It's not yet complete. So government has to still add some more money. Now it is I heard the minister say they will need about $68 million or so to add. If you add 68 to 196 million, you do the calculation, and now you divide by the same 1,500. Cost per unit is around $170,000 plus, as it is. I am wondering where government will be able to, or how government will be able to sell this off to the, to the public. However, assuming government decides to package this and sell it off to the private sector, the money that they will reap, they can then this time learn from the lessons and experiences that they have gotten from this, the bad experience from this project, and use this money this time to do really affordable housing projects for our gallant civil service, whether the security services or whoever that qualifies, they can then use that money, I think, to do more affordable housing. After all, the land allocated for that project is 2,172 acres.
Yeah.
As I've learned. And then only 1,200 acres or so has been utilized in this field. And so you still have about 1,000 acres to do more affordable housing. So I think that it would be good if government can offload it to a private, sector person, albeit, as Franklin said, transparently, and everybody sees value for money. The private sector the private person takes it over and carries on from there, and government will also recover this money and use it to do new, more affordable, perhaps, something that can be called affordable. That can be,
In other, what you're suggesting is that, so in this private arrangement, government will selling the property as it is now, the land and the building as it is, to a private guy who will buy it at this stage.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so government gets all that money upfront.
Okay.
So when the government gets that money upfront, government can invest that one in another affordable housing project.
Okay, but Patrick.
Or multiple affordable housing projects.
Yeah, Franklin.
Yes, Patrick, let's not. I mean, I'm a bit hesitant to allow government to get into these kinds of businesses again. What about this, Patrick? What if they sold the Saglemi housing as it is now, got the money, and used the money to service whatever lands that are left or new lands, and allow private sector folks like you to compete to build affordable houses on those service lands, rather than have the government go and invest that money again in another scheme, only to learn a few years later that, well, there were certain things that were not done properly, and then we'll come back to square one. I think the government business should always be, if they are interested in helping us get housing, service lands, provide all the necessary amenities, and let people compete to build affordable housing. I mean, they could even invite my old alma mater, tech students, building technology students, to compete with interesting designs, architecture students to compete with interesting designs and build these houses that will truly be called affordable.
Patrick, what
I
do you
don't
say?
know.
I agree
Yeah,
with you. I was only trying to say that some of the things government can do is to do this. But they can do several other things, including as you said, just acquiring the lands, putting in the services, and allowing private sector to come in and develop. Greda has contributed already to affordable housing, keeps contributing to affordable housing on our own as a private sector. We've participated. We have several examples. I have a number of our members who have delivered affordable housing, very competitive to what government has also delivered, using state institutions. That is the shocking aspect.
Right.
We in the private sector have been very competitive. Let's face the fact, these are numbers, they are there. They can be verified any day. So we have shown and demonstrated that we are able to deliver this. And we are more than ready. Our members are very, very, very capable of delivering affordable housing. In cooperation with the government, we can easily do it. It's very easy.
Yeah, Franklin? Well, I mean, the good thing is that the likes of Patrick and his colleagues will not be part of this enterprise if they don't play ball. And if you know what I mean, procurement is the biggest opportunity in this town. And so that's why I do not really want any government appointee who is a housing minister to even think of the idea of building affordable houses. That thing should cease. Whatever money government wants to spend, use it, open up the country, service lands, let the likes of Patrick and his friends come and compete. And they've done it before. There's just too many examples here. It can be done. I'm shocked that from 1998 to 2001, I think 2002, when I learned land economy, I remember my building technology teachers were teaching us, telling us how adaptive technology could be used to deploy affordable housing. Since we left, I haven't seen any of those technologies being deployed, which tells you that when government talks about the marriage between industry and academia, sometimes it's just a fluke, really. And I think we should start looking into those opportunities and have the likes of, entrepreneurs like Patrick and co invest in those type of thinking and deliver affordable housing. Anything that falls short of government doing what we are suggesting is pure opportunity for graft.
Yeah, Mr. Sommer, so there's consensus among at least Franklin and Patrick that the way it is now, the best approach is just let the private sector guy take it, and we cut our losses, and
What do you expect for a private entrepreneur? They always want to take advantage of the situation, and I still stand by my earlier submission. I believe that he did some calculation, very simplistic calculation, just the number of houses over there, and then divided by the so-called how much we spent, and arrived at about $135,000. But the fact of the matter is that, the government also had a responsibility towards the project. The drains, covers, everything was provided by government. Government reneged on that responsibility. Contractor had to go ahead, use part of that money to provide the on and off site infrastructure. The contractor did it, which the government should have done anyway. Beside that, we also know that Parliament approved gift tax exemptions for some of the materials that were imported. All these things, the contractor did not even benefit. I don't even know the situation with the contractor, whether that contract has been terminated or not. If later the contractor will not even come back to also charge the country for having illegally terminated the contract. And then, once we go to international arbitration, we know the consequences of it. So what I'm saying is that beside everything, government also owed the contractor so much. So if government had paid all these monies, then the cost of the project wouldn't have been what we are talking about at the moment. It wouldn't have been that. It would have reduced considerably. So that's why we think that we should not leave everything with government. We need independent body to go into this project. Look at the pros and cons of every decision that we...
But your conclusion is that whatever happens, government should bear the cost of finishing it.
That is it. Because if
that's what the disagreement is.
It doesn't matter.
That's free lunch,
It doesn't matter. Transparency should be the word. Once we are transparent from this time around, if Parliament is doing its oversight work very well, and the ministry will also be so transparent, at the end of it, we should be able to complete this project to the satisfaction of all Ghanaians. And at the end of it, the cost that they are talking about may come down considerably. So if we are supposed to.
So the disagreement, I think, is, both Franklin and Patrick agree that there's no way you can still categorize it as affordable. Unless government is going to do, Father Christmas with it.
No. If government decides to complete these projects, and at the end of it, give it to government workers, I've mentioned the military.
Okay, so that's your approach.
But
Franklin, what about that approach? Give it to government, finish and give it to government workers.
Government is supposed to house the military and the police.
Okay.
And they have a lot of issues with accommodation.
So social
housing, what is it?
That will be better.
That is our money.
Franklin, what do you make of that suggestion also?
This box where we think that some of these schemes, however they are paid for by the taxpayer, must be treated like social rent. This is hard-earned money, and I think anything that falls short of commercial rent, we should be very careful. How many of these houses have really truly been affordable? As we maintain, if government wants to be part and parcel of this approach, they should just do the needful. Service lands, allow people, if you have the money, if you can go and borrow the money and online to the likes of Patrick and Co. at certain rates, at the very concessionary rates, then they build at affordable rates and then pay you back the money. Anything that has a government ministry injecting itself into the deal is a recipe for disaster.
Patrick, very quickly, if you may, I've always been curious why government-led affordable housing schemes have struggled, either have failed or it just costs us far more, and it turns out it just completely defeats the whole purpose. What has been the most important stumbling block to this success, based on your knowledge?
Well, you see, there are issues when it comes to government projects and the pricing of government projects. We in the private sector have always had the challenge with the pricing of government projects. And for us, if our input will be accepted, we will help them, cut down on costs. And, for example, what is happening now is clearly a cost that is building up, that has built up into that project that wasn't supposed to be. Private sector people would have taken these decisions several years ago, and then we will not be where we are today. So a lot of these things, a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, and stuff like that. They create problems like these things. You understand? When there's no clarity of issues. So if it continues this way, there will always be problems. In the private sector, I mean, you are spending hard-earned money, and so you really are looking for your value for money. I mean, your returns. Like, you can't give a project to anyone that will overcharge you. I mean, you want to keep down the price, especially for a project that the money is available.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I see. And very finally, Mr. Sama, so in Parliament, though, you still you have some authority here. What is the approach now? Well, how are you going to pursue this through Parliament and get some resolution?
You know, the fear that we had, I've been so pronounced here this evening, because let's run down this project so that we can court public sympathy, and then we sell the project. And right now, everybody thinks that is the best way to go. The distraction that these people have caused.
I think it's that people just simply don't trust that government can do this, because there's a long history of government failure in affordable housing.
Prior to 2017, this project was a good project.
Yeah, but even you didn't finish on time.
No, we didn't finish on time.
Yes, so that's a problem. That's a problem. When government has been involved, it just doesn't happen on time.
We did not finish on time, but we were on course, and the contractor was still on site.
Yeah.
It was issue of government paying a side of the bargain.
Yeah, so why don't you just get rid of that problem?
Government did not do it.
And
that's
do what
I'm
Franklin and Patrick
this,
suggested?
This very project, we need to see it to conclusion. Government will have to complete it. If in future we can adopt the strategy that Franklin and Patrick are suggesting, we have no problem with that. But I will be very, very sad if Saglemi is allowed to go the same path. I will not be happy with it at all. After we have invested so much, and some people just sit down to run down the project to get the opportunity to sell it. And that is where we are at the moment. So when we went there, that was the very issue that we were trumpeting. These people, they took this strategy so that they can get a chance to sell it. And that is exactly what has happened, what is going to happen. We only have to be very transparent going forward with some of these deals. At the end of it, Ghanaians will have to get value for the investment that we have made over there. Other than that, few people will just take advantage and shorten Ghanaians.
Vincent Samoa is a ranking member on the Works and Housing Committee in Parliament. Patrick Banfo, you heard earlier, is the president of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. Franklin Kujo, you know him, is with Imani Africa. Enjoy the rest of it, people.